Hey everyone, I'm going to go over how to put all four of your Warhol portraits into one complete document so that we can print it on the photo printer. So I'm going to open up my Warhol portrait, and I have all four of mine in one document here. And I have all of my layers kind of still working around here so I can show you how to merge them and make that all possible. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to change my canvas size because the paper that we're going to be printing on is going to be larger than 8.5 by 11. We're going to do 11 by 14, which is the size of the largest photo paper that we have. So we're going to go to Image and Canvas size. And right now it defaults to pixels, but I can change that to inches. And you can see that for me, I have 11 for my width and 8.5 for my height because my portrait is more of a landscape instead of vertical. So I'm going to change my width to 14 and my height to 11. Most of you are going to do your width at 11 and your height at 14 because yours are taller instead of wide. So 14 by 11 or 11 by 14 and click OK. And you're going to see that my paper has gotten bigger here. So we're going to deal with that a little bit later. So I've got all of my layers like I was talking about. I have my portrait right here, and I have already merged those layers together. So that one's a whole. I have my line drawing with my shapes. So all these layers go together with this background. And then I have my portrait one where I have the body and then outlined, and then I filled it in with the paint bucket. I am using this yellow background for two of them, so I'm actually just gonna duplicate it so that I have it for both of my portraits. I have it for my shapes one, and I have this background for my Warhol one. And then my final one is my filter with my brushwork on top here. Doesn't really matter the order that I do this in. I'm just going to take my filter and my brush tool, and I'm going to merge these layers together so that they are one. So I'm going to click on my filter layer. I'm going to hold Shift on my keyboard, and I'm going to click on my Warhol filter. So both of these layers here are selected. You can tell because they're both light gray. And then if I right click on that layer, I get all of these options, and I'm going to go and click on Merge Layers. So you'll see that both of those layers have now become one. And I am going to hit Control T, which is short for transform, and you can see how it brought up my bounding box. And I can now just make this a little bit smaller. For right now, I'm just going to kind of make it a size that I'm assuming is going to be okay. I'm going to have 4 of these in this one piece of paper. So I'm just going to make her roughly this size for now. I can always go back and make her bigger or smaller. And I'm going to hit enter to keep that size there. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to my next one, which is going to be my portrait one. So I have my background color, I have my brush tool with my paint bucket, and then I did some cleanup work underneath. So I've got 3 layers for this one. I'm going to click on my bottom layer, and I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to click on Warhol 1 because that is my top layer that goes with these. So I'm going to hold Shift, click on them, right click, merge layers. Again, these are all now one complete layer. I'm going to bring back my Warhol filter so that I can resize these to be the same. So I'm going to hit Control T, bring up my bounding box, and I'm going to start making this smaller, and I can snap this one on top of my filter and see how I can just kind of use my eyeball to make that the same size. And then I can just scoot her over to the side. This pink line that's coming up is just, showing you like where the center is and that it is lined up with my first portrait here. Okay, then I can hit enter. So I've got 2 of them down. I'm going to move on to my third one. So I've got my yellow background. I have my brush tool drawing, and then I have my shapes. Now, this one is a little bit different because you'll notice that I have shapes coming off of the edges. I'm just going to hide those so you can see that. So notice how I have these fern shapes and they go outside of my box. There's two ways that I can handle this. I can leave them, okay? So I'm just going to show you what that would look like if I just left them that size. So technically, I could do something like this. I mean, they don't go off that much. It's not that big of a deal. I could have it look like that, but if that bothers me, I'm just going to undo all that so I can show you how to fix that. So if that bothers you, what you can do is, again, I clicked on my bottom layer, my layer 2 copy, go to the top here where my last fern is, hold shift, select all of them, right click and merge them so they're all in one layer now. I'm going to have to rasterize my layers. So what Photoshop does is they make these shapes vector based. So they have like points that make up everything. So if I right click on this layer here, it might have actually rasterized it already now that I combine them. Let's see. If I go to my crop tool, let me double click this. If I go to my crop tool and I bring this in, I should be able to snap it right onto the edge of my yellow like that. And if I hit enter, oh wait, I don't think I wanted to do that. Whoops, let me undo that. Let me hit enter and undo. I don't think I want to crop it because then I crop the whole piece of paper. Maybe if I go to my marquee tool and I select this, the inside part, I can go to select in inverse and I can hit delete and it gets rid of the extra parts because it's actually selecting the outer edge here. And then a shortcut to deselect is Control D, and I can hit Control T, and then I can start making this smaller. I am going to bring up my other two portraits so that I can resize this appropriately. Again, I like to put it directly on top so that I can make it the same size. And I've got my last one, which I've already merged my layers. It is this one here. So I'm going to hit Control T, make it fit the others, like so. And whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Go back to my move tool, deselect that, Control D, and I've got all four of my portraits. Now I'm not quite done. I have to think about the order of these. Do I like this order? I actually kind of do because I've kind of got the pink one up top, the pink one at the bottom, and then I've got these two yellow ones. So for me, I actually do kind of like this order, but feel free to, move things around if you want to change that up. I actually liked it how it was originally. Whoops. So Shift Control Z will bring me back. And I just got to move these two back to where they were. Now I can play with the official size of these and the placement on my piece of paper. So if I go to View, Show and Grid, or Control and the little apostrophe, brings up my grid, and now I can kind of figure out a placement for these. So maybe I'll start with this top one, and I want to do like a box at the top, a box at the bottom. So then I can click on these and I can arrange them so that at least I have the outer spaces the same. Okay, I could make these all a little bit bigger. So I can hit Control T and I could maybe extend it. So I can go ahead and I can make these all like one box bigger. I'm just clicking on them and hitting Control T, and then I'm able to select it. So I could do something like that. I could even make them a little bit bigger if I want. I can start nudging these into place. So if I notice I have 2 squares in between vertically, and then I have 4 squares in between horizontally. So I could click on this layer, and I can hold shift and click on my bottom layer, and I can use my arrow key on my keyboard, and I can start nudging those to the right a little bit more. So now I've moved those over, and then I can click on this top one, hold shift, click on the bottom one so that those 2 layers are selected. And again, I have my move tool selected, so I can use my arrow keys on my keyboard just to nudge these into place. And if I look closely, I can see that my bottom one is a little bit off. So I'm gonna click on that bottom one, and I'm just gonna nudge it into place. And this one's, so this is, whoops, this is like getting pretty OCD, but it's kind of nice that you're able to do this easily by using your arrow keys. So I might as well take the extra minute and just make it as perfect as possible. I can double click my hand tool. So that can be what it looks like, and I can go to view, show, and I can uncheck grid, and then my grid goes away, so then I can see what that would look like. So this should be ready to print. I can go ahead and go to file and save as, and save it on my computer. And I can go ahead and hit save. I am going to change this name just in case I have to go back and do some changes. I'm just going to name it finish so that I have this one, and then I still have my original. So it's 99% saved. There we go. Then I can go over to the photo printers, log into one of the back photo printers. We have 2 right now that are in working order, so we can get these printed on the photo paper. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, good luck with this.